Hi everyone, I'm Donna the Accounting Lady. Today I want to talk a little bit about piercing the corporate veil and why that's a bad thing and what it is. Before I get started, as always, if you enjoy these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to hire me to do your bookkeeping, please comment below, direct message me. I'd like to set up an appointment with you for a free consultation, free needs analysis to see if we're a good fit and if we can help you. I don't like to try to push a round peg in a square hole, so I like to know that my clients and I are a good fit going right in, and that's what this needs analysis is for. So, piercing the corporate veil. When you set up a corporation or a limited liability company, LLC, what you're doing is you're creating a veil of protection, is what it's legally called. You're creating an entity that is a legal person. And if the company gets sued, you are not that entity. So the judge would then look at that and say, Chevron, you are not your owners. So Chevron might lose every last bit of their assets, and I'm just kind of pulling a name out of the air. But the owners, the stockholders, the board of directors, the officers, they cannot be sued because Chevron is a legal person. It's the same thing when whether it's a major corporation like Chevron, or if it's a little bitty S corp that only the owner is getting paid out of, and they're just trying to, keep their noses above water. When you set up an LLC or you set up a corporation, it creates this legal person that has all of the assets and all of the liabilities, all of the debts of that company. Okay? It's like it's a whole different thing. And the owner is kind of over here. They're a separate person. Legally, really, they really are a separate person. So if someone tries to go after my business, which I don't see is very likely at all, they try to go after my business. Well, my business is not me, not legally. My business is an LLC, and I am not part of that LLC. Except that, obviously I own it. I own all of the shares in it. Now, because of that, if it ever were to happen, the judge will look at that and they'll say, well, this company owns all of the debt, all of the liability, all of the assets, and you can go after the company's assets, but you can't go over my assets that are over here in a separate account because they're not owned by the company. Here's where piercing the corporate veil comes into place. And I see a lot of clients do this. I just did a video on commingling, and when that happens, you're mixing up your funds. Okay, so now we can't tell what the business owns versus what you own, because you're pulling cash out of the company. You're not putting it into your personal account to keep the records straight. You're just pulling cash out, and who knows what you're using it for, or you're paying business bills with your personal funds, you're paying personal bills with your business funds. Now we can't tell because it's all, instead of being nice and neat and separate, which is how I like it because I'm an accountant and I like things just so, now it's all tangled up and it's a mess. Okay, so when the judge and the accounting team come in, because I have seen businesses where the funds were so commingled that they actually had to call in an accounting team to try to make sense of it. And the accounting team had to turn back to the judge and say, this is terribly commingled. We can't tell what's actually going on here. When that happens, the judge says, oh, well, you've pierced the corporate veil. That means that we're going to treat you and your company as one. Now you don't have those protections of limited liability. In other words, when you set up anything that limits your liability, that means that you can't be sued for what your business does, right? But if you breach that, if you pierce the corporate veil, then legally speaking, you've collapsed your limits on your liability, and you can be personally responsible for the debts of the business or the actions of the business. This is not a good thing. This is why I am constantly harping on my clients about commingling funds. Please don't do it. It really opens you up to so many problems. And I have seen, these weren't my clients, but I have seen businesses completely collapse, multiple entities completely collapse, and the owner be sued because they were commingling funds. They completely pierced the corporate veil on several different entities, and what was once worth millions of dollars is now, worth zero, and the owner himself is being sued. So it's just, it creates so many problems. Everyone seems to think that it's just that one extra step of, oh, I'm going to transfer money over to my personal account. We're going to keep those lines clean. Is just a little bit too much trouble. But if you're ever sued, which is why you set up any sort of limited liability anything or corporate anything, if you're ever sued and that whole house of cards collapses, then you will sit back and go, oh, I wish I had taken the extra step. And this is something I want people to know and understand. This is so important, and I've seen it in action, and I want to protect my clients, or even potential clients, or even people that just own a business and think these videos are awesome. This is me trying to protect everybody that I know that owns a business, whether it's a sole proprietorship. If you decide to make that an LLC, which I recommend, especially here in Utah where it's so ridiculously easy to do, or if you have a corporation, which could be one person that owns all the stock, then they can elect to have it treated as an S-corp. Please make sure that everything is nice and neat and exactly the way it should be, or you could face major problems down the line. And if you do, I hope you don't. I really do. That's part of the reason I make these videos. I hope you don't ever have problems with your accounting. But if you ever do, and it could be, it could be a legal action, it could be the IRS coming back in and saying, corporate veil is pierced. You owe taxes for this and this and this and this and this, and now you have this massive tax bill plus penalties plus interest, and the penalties and interest are usually more than the taxes were. That's a possibility too. I don't want this to happen to anybody, so I keep really harping on it that you've got to make sure that everything is in place, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. That is why you want an accountant to come in and take care of your books for you. You really do. You don't necessarily want a CPA, by the way. And I am going to talk in another video about what a CPA is and what they do, and do you actually need one? The odds are the answer is no, but we'll talk about that. But you do want someone who's a professional, who knows how to do this. Someone like me, I'm sitting for my CPA exam. I have spent 12 years in the trenches as a bookkeeper. I understand what it's like. I have a friend that says you shouldn't say how long you've been doing this, but I think it's a great thing to know that I have experience, to know that I've seen it all at this point, to know that I have probably answered every question ever. It's like I want my doctor to maybe not be fresh out of medical school. I want them to have been around the block a couple of times, and I realize it's called a practice, but I don't really want them practicing on me. I want them perfecting on me. I want them to already know, So, I do talk about how long I've been in bookkeeping. I am sitting for my CPA exam. I am preparing to go and start on my MBA. The reason I talk about this is not to toot my own horn, although, there's a certain amount of that, but it is to reassure you that I've seen it all. I'm studying even more. I know that I don't know what I don't know, and that, I'm continuing my education, and this is for the benefit of my clients. This is really for the benefit of my clients because I want my clients to have the best advice, the best accountant, the best bookkeeper, and I want to make sure that that best person is me. And I want my bookkeepers to have the best, and I want to make sure that the best is me, so that my bookkeepers have the best resources at their disposal. That's it for today. That's really all I wanted to talk about as far as piercing the corporate veil. This is an absolutely critical piece of information that every business owner should have. This is why we harp so badly on commingling funds. Please don't do that. And when your accountant comes to you and says you're piercing the corporate veil, I want you to understand what that means. Because I know we talk a lot in jargon, like most professions do, and this is one of those terms I want you to understand. That's it for today. I will talk to you again soon.